Oh. Narayana. Hari Om and greetings from Pittsburgh. If you don't know happiness, how would you live your life? Imagine the purpose of your life was not happiness. What would you do? Why would you wake up? How would you interact with people? When we don't know that our nature is happiness, that the purpose of living is to be happy, we give in to everyone, we give in to every idea. I was drinking coffee in an airport and I noticed the Kleenex said, live happily. You know that coffee company, ILLY, Illy. And I thought that if someone doesn't know that their nature is happiness, then they'll think that drinking this coffee is happiness. And we're all smiling and saying, yeah, you know, people are like that. We're like that. And it's actually rougher for us because we know our nature is happiness, but we still can't live like that. This course, Vedanta and Ramayana, which is nearing completion, is a course on expecting more out of life, expecting more from ourselves. The way we live, the way we interact with each other, we've reduced our internal expectations too much. We feel happiness is not having stress, but that's just the absence of pain. We think the purpose of living is to serve our families, but it's not. That is a means to serving the community, society, humanity, divinity. To expect more from yourself, to expect more from the opportunity that is living. Bhagwan Rama had ordered Indra to come from heaven with the Amrita. And Indra spread this Amrita, and who came back to life? The monkeys, the bears, the wolves. Do you think Bhagwan Rama needed Indra to do that? If you think about the churning of the Milky Ocean, the Kshir Sagar Mantana, everything about that is Narayana. The mountain is Narayana, the turtle is Narayana, the eagle is Narayana, the snake is Narayana. Everything is Narayana. Bhagwan Rama did this to honor Indra. You'll see so much of Ramayana is Bhagwan Rama being quiet, so another person, in this case Indra, is honored. And that's a subtle way of how we should live too, isn't it? We should be quiet and let other people be honored. Because the opposite, when I depend on honor, there's a lot of agitation, lack of quietude in my mind. We studied how Vibhishana told Bhagwan Rama, Tan man dhan, sab kuch tera. Vibhishana says, take all of mine, but you take me. That's a lovely thought. You take all of mine, but you take me. I don't want to stay here in Lanka. I want to come with you. And who chose the opposite? If you fast forward to Dwapar Yuga, when Bhagwan Krishna opens his eyes and says, hey, there's Arjuna, there's Duryodhana, you can have whatever you want. And Duryodhana says, I want yours, but not you. And Arjuna says, I want you and not yours. Vibhishana goes on to be remembered forever. Duryodhana, we try to forget how important our choices are in living. We now have to complete Uttarakanda in 2 hours. Not in 1 week. In 2 weeks, we're going to finish Uttarakanda. So I'm going to move fast. So keep up with me. When Sri Bharata was feeling that the time of Bhagwan Rama's arrival was going to come, he had his Guptas, they're called Guptacharas, in the jungle. What is the English word for Guptachara? Spies. He had his spies in the jungle there to inform him if they see any signs of Bhagwan Rama coming back. And they didn't see any signs, but Sri Bharata and all of the people tuned into Bhagwan Rama, they felt Bhagwan Rama is coming. So for all of the males, what side of their body was throbbing? The right side. And the females? Left side. So those are auspicious signs. So they started feeling these signs that Bhagwan is coming home. Now, how we should interpret this, when we have a more concentrated mind, a more cheerful mind, a more content mind, we feel Bhagwan's home is us. When you feel those signs, you know that you're growing. Concentration, cheer, contentment. And when finally Hanumanji told Sri Bharata that Bhagwan Rama is coming, Sri Bharata ran to Rishi Vashishta first and told him that Bhagwan Rama is coming. And it shows the priority, it shows the place that a guru has in a sincere seeker's life, that they share their joy first with the guru, they share their sorrow first with the guru. There's no hiding from their preceptor, from their guru. And as Bhagwan Rama is coming with Vibhishana and Hanumanji and so on, he's talking about the greatness of Ayodhya. This is where I used to play, this is where I used to eat, this is where Sri Lakshmana and I fought. And it shows the relatability of Bhagwan Rama. You know, when visitors come to your city, you say, this is a good donut place, and this is where we drink coffee, and so on. Bhagwan Rama is doing the same. He's a tour guide. And you have to imagine, none of these animals have ever been to a city. They've lived in the jungle. What's a marketplace? And so on and so forth. And finally, that Pushpaka lands, that aerial chariot lands, and they walk into Ayodhya. And Bhagwan Rama tells that aerial chariot to go back. And who owns that? Who's the original owner of this Pushpaka Vimana? Kubera. Kubera is the original owner. Ravana stole it from him. And Bhagwan Rama releases this Vimana. Again, the subtleties that he never hoarded. He gave it back to who this belonged to. Imagine foreigners and invaders gave back the wealth they stole from other countries. You know how much that is for Bharat? $1 trillion. There's $1 trillion of wealth in the world that has been stolen from Bharat. Imagine the infrastructure that could be created in Bharat if $1 trillion was infused into the country. And Bhagwan Rama shows he gives it back. This was stolen originally. It should go back to the original owner. So we learn about governance here too. And when Bhagwan Rama enters Ayodhya and sees Rishi Vashishta, he runs towards him, drops his bow here, drops his arrows there. And that's the first time that he dropped his bow and arrow since leaving Ayodhya. Until then, even in his family pictures, you see that bow and arrows there. But he drops his bow and arrow. And he's meeting Rishi Vashishta, and then he meets Sri Bharata, and Sri Bharata's on the ground, and he won't stand up. He just surrenders over there. And Bhagwan Rama has to lift him up. Sri Bharata puts his hands on Bhagwan Rama's feet. You can't go anymore. You have to stay here. Now, all of these monkeys and bears and wolves. So imagine wherever you're sitting, a group of monkeys and bears and wolves came into your room right now. What would you do if you saw a wolf sitting beside you right now? So they actually manifested as humans. So we see Sugriva, but he actually manifests as a human. It reminds me of Beauty and the Beast. You know, they turn into those teacups and clocks, but they come back as humans. They copied Ramayana. Disney owes royalties to Ramayana. And then they meet all of the mothers also. After Rishi Vashishta, they meet the mothers. And it's distinctly noted by Tulsidas Ji that Sri Lakshmana has a tough time meeting Mother Kaikeyi. He has a tough time meeting her. But for Bhagwan Rama, there's no holding back. There's no resistance in meeting Mother Kaikeyi. So they meet Rishi Vashishta, they meet the Ranis, and then all of the citizens of Ayodhya, they're all holding Aarti Thalis. And as they're offering Aarti to Bhagwan Rama, they're closing their eyes. Because though that light is outside, where are they feeling it? Inside. And then what they do is they take so much of their wealth and they just throw it. They throw it because there's brahmanas, there's bhikshus there. And what this shows us in a subtle way is that security is not outside, security is inside. They found happiness. So they don't need all of these dependencies. And Tulsidas says that when one is happier, they become so generous that someone who's asking of them never has to ask again. Never has to ask again. That's how generous the citizens of Ayodhya are, those who find that happiness are. They give their lives up to others. As more and more of these formalities are set in, Rishi Vashishta tells the brothers, tells the ministers that we should make Bhagwan Rama the king now. And as they are going through all of this, they ask who knows most about the coronation ceremony, and who's that? Sumantra. That when Sumantra came back from the jungle, we met Sumantra in the Ayodhya Kanda. He went into his room and he cried there for 14 years because he felt that he was the cause for all of this delay. And when finally someone comes and tells Sumantra that Bhagwan Rama's back, you have all of these materials, he's totally transformed and transported into serving Bhagwan Rama. And then that Vijaya Tilak is put on Bhagwan Rama. First the Bindi or the Bindu, and then that's raised upwards. And in that moment, Bhagwan Rama becomes the king of Ayodhya. And this is all happening in the presence of the citizens of Ayodhya. And the one person who's not part of his coronation ceremony is Sri Bharata, is not there. He's holding on to the throne, saying that I'm the reason why Bhagwan Rama didn't sit on this for 14 years. You know, the emotion from Sumantra, from Sri Bharata, when you read this, it feels like we're living in such a mechanical way, no? We hurt ourselves, we hurt people so deeply, and we forget about it right away. We're just busy. Sri Bharata didn't do anything. Sumantra didn't do anything. But they're so alive for Bhagwan that if anything happens to Bhagwan, anything that happens to happiness, their lives are affected by this. Their lives are stopped because of this. when Bhagavan Rama goes finally to his palace, because now he's become the king, but he's not addressing the royal affairs yet. He takes his brothers to their palaces and he undoes their jatas. He bathes his brothers. You know, we do that with Vyasa because Vyasa is a baby and he can't do it himself. These are grown men. These are brothers, and Bhagavan Rama undoes their hair and bathes them because Bhagavan Rama feels they had to suffer because of him. There's no blame game going on in any way amongst anyone. And only after they're all bathed does he undo his jata and he bathes himself. And the one thought that I didn't share with all of you is, before he took his own bath, he went to Mother Kaike's palace. And he went to Mother Kaike's palace because that's where his exile began, and that's where his exile ends. With that, his exile is completed. It's formalized that he's now the king. And Mother Keike is feeling so bad about everything that's happened. And as she's sharing how bad she feels, Bhagavan Rama keeps telling her about the greatness of the jungle. So large-hearted. He never talked about, it was hot, it was cold, my wife was kidnapped. He was not seeking sympathy. He was saying that this is divine ordinance, total acceptance, prasada buddhi, or Bhagavan Rama. Another reason why Bhagavan Rama undid his own hair and bathed himself. You see, until that moment, his whole life people were serving him, isn't it? In the jungle, we studied this so carefully that some people are massaging his feet, some people are fighting for him. Everyone has served him, and now that he's become the king, he has to return that service. Here we find there's no taking for granted by Bhagavan Rama. He's so grateful. And in our traditions, up until you're married, even marriage, all of those samskaras are performed by others for you. Even marriage, that vivaha is done for you. But once you're married, to be appreciative that for 24 years, for 30 years, that people have served for me, now I have to serve twice as much. Remember, Bhagavan Rama got married at 16, plus 14 is 30. He's only 30 years old now. For the next 60 years, he just keeps giving and giving and giving. But that only comes when we've invested enough in ourselves. So now he's bathed, and right away he goes to serve, and he enters this courtroom. And when he sees that throne, who does he think of? Who sat on that throne last? Raja Dashrata. There's some sadness that's associated with that. And Rishi Vashishta knows this. So with this divine sankalpa, he creates this divine seat. And then Bhagavan Rama sits on that seat. Siyavara Ramachandra ki. There is divinity in details. If you feel what I'm sharing is not so important, I ask you to think otherwise. It's these details that actually show one's return to Advaita. Until now, there was Dvaita. For 14 years, there was separation, correct? That's what exile is. And now with the feeling of Advaita would be the feeling of enlightenment. Bhagavan Rama's return. Try not to externalize this as in Ayodhya, as in a place. This is me feeling that Rama in me. This is enlightenment, where God is the king of your life. And this starts with Vijayadashami. Deepavali is not about going outside. Deepavali is the effect of Vijayadashami. On Vijayadashami, I should feel this light, and so I can't help but share it. Now our Deepavali has become an exchange program, isn't it? It's become an eating and drinking program where it's still about what do I get, because Vijayadashmi is not real to us. What we do on Vijayadashmi is burn Ravana and that's it. You know, Vijayadashmi. Vedanta in Ramayana is not to be externalized. We've done that for too long, decades, to internalize all that's being shared. Now, the focus of this class, this is more of what we've studied, is Ram Raja. So I'm going to share with you a chopai. This is the 21st section of chopais. This is the first chopai, the first line. Daihika, Daivika, Bhautika, Tapa. You all know what this means. We chant Shanti 3 times, correct? Let there be peace far away, nearby, and inside. That's only possible if there's Ram Raja, Nahi Kahihu Vyapa. Nowhere is there any tapa. Not far away, not nearby, not inside. So let's understand what Ram Raja is. And as I go about describing this, please, 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 and I'll even share this, what period of time is Ram Raja happening in? When is all of this Ramayana taking place? Treta Yuga. And Tulsidas Ji says, during Treta Yuga, everyone felt that this was Satya Yuga. Now, for those in the happiness series, I shared, those who depend on context are called motivated, and those who depend on content are called inspired. Motivation, you're subject to change. Inspiration, you're not subject to change. You've transcended that change. We should be careful to use society and time as an excuse for the violence that is all around us. The society is simply the expression of individuals. During this coronation ceremony, the Veda manifests as bards. And there's a famous stuti where the Vedas are describing Bhagwan Rama, and one highlight of that, the Vedas, these bards say, one can rise high in life, but if they lack bhakti, they will fall. Without bhakti, one will fall, because bhakti is the antidote for ego. I can go so high in life, but pride goeth the fall, or pride before fall. There's a saying like that. And these Vedas say, only bhakti can inhibit that fall. Then there's a famous stuti by Bhagwan Shiva. Remember, Bhagwan Shiva told Bhagwan Rama when he defeated Ravana, I'll see you in Ayodhya. So there's Bhagwan Shiva. And Bhagwan Shiva's prayer to Bhagwan Rama. Now, many of us have been studying for 2.5 years. Right now, the students were asked, if you can give a gift to another kid, what would that gift be? And some people said bicycle. Some people said shelter. Some said happiness. If one of your prayers could be answered, just one, what would you pray for? And Bhagwan Shiva leads by example. He's our role model. He prays for satsang. Here's Bhagwan Shiva, who conceived of Ramayana, of Guru Gita, and so much, and he's saying, please give me more satsang. And that's why another name for Bhagwan Shiva is Abhayankara, the one who is fearless. As soon as we leave right association, fear starts. So when you're with right association, fear can't start. during Ram Raja, all three worlds are engaged in dharma. They're responsible. And where there's responsibility, there's abhyudaya. Abhyudaya means prosperity. And there's nishreyasa, which means peace. There's prosperity and peace. And why all three worlds is important? Because now who's defeated? Ravana. And Ravana had controlled all three worlds. And now that he's not in control, all three worlds shift back to that dharma. And the expression or the fulfillment of dharma is oneness. There's a lot of description of lions and elephants walking together, of snakes and frogs being together. There is no sense of separation. Isn't that what America needs right now? Isn't that what the world needs right now? Tulsidashi shares, for the person who's liberated, when they hear this Ram Katha, so imagine a liberated person, it could be you. You're already enlightened and now you're hearing this Ram Katha. You're blessed with bhakti. And that's a very careful teaching that higher than mukti is bhakti. If you're someone who's a vairagi, you're blessed with mukti. So mukti is given a lower place. And if you're someone who's a bhogi, you're blessed with Lakshmi, as in money. And this is a lovely message because if I'm a tamasic, rajasic, or sattvic person, listening to Ram Katha is a blessing, will help me. During this coronation ceremony, 6 months pass. Everyone's enjoying so much. Time flies when you're having fun. 6 months pass. And finally, Bhagwan Rama has to remind all of those monkeys and bears and wolves, you have families. You came and sacrificed for me, but you have to go back to your responsibilities. You have to follow dharma. And here again, it shows the thoughtfulness of Bhagwan Rama. He's thinking about their wives. He's thinking about their kids. And says, you are living for divinity and we've achieved this. Go back to your responsibilities. And this reminds me of so many times when people would come to meet Swami Tejomayananda. And in India, they would come with drivers, right? Someone would be driving and the person coming to see Guruji would be sitting in the passenger seat. And Guruji would always send one of our workers, our sevaks, and say, make sure that the driver gets to eat. Make sure the driver gets to rest. He never forgot about that full picture. Even in Chinmaya Mission, you can't join a Vedanta course unless your family approves it. And that's a lovely thought process because suppose I want to join the Vedanta course, but my wife doesn't want me to. How is she going to do during this period? So everyone has to be looked after. So Bhagwan says, go home. And it's amazing because each of these animals understands that the physical presence is not as important as the omnipresence. For them to limit Bhagwan as living in Ayodhya shows that they never understood Bhagwan. They readily return to their responsibilities. And before they do, Bhagwan Rama asks Sri Bharata to dress up Sugriva. So Sri Bharata dresses up Sugriva like king to king. Like Bharatanatyam dancers, they often can't dress themselves. So their teacher dresses them up. They put the makeup on and the jewelry. Sri Bharata is doing this to Sugriva. Lakshmana does it. Sri Lakshmana does it for Vibhishana. To show that respect. And then Bhagwan Rama does for all of the other beings with his own hands. Now, the one person who did resist leaving, whose name is not mentioned, Hanumanji, but you're still missing one more name. Angada. Angada, he never accepts those clothes, saying, I'm not going anywhere. If I put these clothes on, that means I have to go. It's like signing a contract. I give up all my rights. He says, I don't want any of this. And Bhagwan Rama sits with him, holding his hands and explains to him. Because Angada says, my father said, you have to protect me. And Bhagwan Rama's processing, I did say that. But in your father's presence, you became the crown prince. So your responsibilities are not to me, your responsibilities are to the people. That's right. And how will you learn about people? Learn from Sugriva. Again, those details, there was no escapism. He said, Angada, you have to go. You have to learn from Sugriva. And then, as you mentioned, Hanumanji. Hanumanji is following Bharata, Lakshmana. They're all escorting all of the animals out of Ayodhya. Like security guards, right? Don't come back. They're escorting him because that's our tradition, is that you don't just say, see ya, and close the door. You make sure that they're oriented. And that's why when someone leaves your home, you leave the door open and you wait till they go away, and then you celebrate. So Hanumanji goes to Sugriva and says, let me be here for 10 more days, and then I'll come. Hanumanji says this to Sugriva. And Sugriva is such a great king. We keep pointing out Sugriva's deficiencies, that he's indulgent and he's a coward, but he says, you stay. If you served me, that would be a disservice. He said, you serve Bhagwan, and as you serve Bhagwan, he's so clever, he says, remind Bhagwan of me every day. Reference me every day. That's what you can do. Just, there's so much love. Sugriva loves Hanumanji. Hanumanji loves Bhagwan. Bhagwan loves Angada. Angada loves Jambavan. So much love. And if these animals can be like that, why can't we? Why do we keep competing with each other? Why do we keep living like there's a zero-sum game? So much of love is shown in Uttarakhanda. When they leave, the rest of Uttarakhanda is mostly Vedanta and not so much of Katha. This week I won't cover it, but Lava and Kusha are born very shortly, and all Goswamiji says, and then Lava and Kusha were born. That's it. Each of the brothers actually had 2 sons. So there's 8 cousins that were growing up together. Right now, there's a dialogue that's happening between, so let's review. How many dialogues are happening in Ramayana? Okay. The first dialogue and the foremost dialogue is Bhagwan Shiva is sharing Ramayana with Parvati Devi. The original author of Ramayana is Bhagwan Shiva. That's why if you ever hear about this Vaishnavism or Shaivism, the original conceiver of Ramayana is Bhagwan Shiva, not Valmiki Ji. Valmiki Ji is the first one to document Ramayana. That's different. Newton didn't create gravity, he documented gravity. That's the gods. The second dialogue is, who's the second dialogue? The second dialogue is, I'm missing the rishis. Those are the animals. Who are the 2 rishis that are? No, those are the animals. It'll come back to me. The next dialogue is with Kaka, Bushundi, and Garuda. So the gods are discussing Ramayana, the animals are discussing Ramayana. The fourth is Goswamiji with himself. He's having this dialogue with himself. So here, the last part of Uttarakhanda is highlighting what this crow, which is Rishi Bushundi, is speaking to Sri Garuda, which is an eagle. So mostly teaching. So some of this teaching of Ram Rajya, every one of us has a ashrama dharma, thank you, and a varna dharma. What our students have shared, the rishis are Yajnavalkya and Bharadwaj. So the gods are talking about it, The rishis are talking about it, the animals are talking about it, and the mind is talking about it. So 4 dialogues. The individual has a ashrama dharma and varna dharma. How many ashramas are there? 4. What is the first ashrama? Brahmacharya. When you focus on learning to love yourself. How many years does it take? 24 years. Once you learn how to love yourself, the next ashrama comes, which is grahastha, where you share your love with the family and community. This is family, you're living with them. This is community. How many years do you do that for? Another 24 years. So now you're at 48 years old. The third ashrama is vanaprastha. And this is where you've trained yourself in loving the individuality and family and community. What's next? Society. You're no longer indulging, you're no longer attached, you're living for the society. That means even beyond Chinmaya Mission, beyond Pittsburgh, beyond any samaj that you're associated with, beyond any corporation you're associated with. Here's where we live for the state, we live for the country. So you focus on society, and the evolution of society is bigger than that, humanity. You live for the whole world. And that should happen up until the age of 60. And the last ashrama is sannyasa. And who do you live for as a sannyasi?
God.
Divinity. You live for divinity that even beyond humans is inclusive of animals and plants and stones. How many of you are following your ashrama dharma? And it's too bad. You know where this all broke up? Is the first 24 years of our lives, we learned about position, but we never learned about peace. And you can only share what you have. If you don't have peace, you can't share peace. And that's why I said what we're doing here is really not learning, it is unlearning. I consciously use that word to unlearn this idea of I need to depend. I need to become independent, and then I can share that independence. That's known as ashrama dharma. Then there's varna dharma. What does varna mean? Color. We are of various temperaments. When we are the smallest thinkers, our varna is Shudra. When we think some more, we are Vaishyas. Shudras are workers, Vaishyas are managers. When we think some more, Kshatriyas, which is when we are leaders. And when we think the most, we are Brahmanas, which is thinkers. So all of us have a ashrama, all of us have a varna. There's responsibilities amongst these 8 positions, but more important than any ashrama dharma and varna dharma is Sanatana dharma. Sanatana dharma trumps, supersedes any localized dharma. And I shared with all of you, Sanatana dharma is a noun. What are the 2 English words to showcase Sanatana dharma as a noun? Sanatana is infinite, dharma is nature. Sanatana dharma means infinite nature. And as a verb is unchanging responsibility. Our unchanging responsibility is to know our infinite nature. That supersedes being a parent. That supersedes being a minister. That supersedes everything we're doing. In Ram Raja, people's only priority was Rama. Rama is peace. Rama is joy. Rama is divinity. And what's lovely about this, if you're thinking globally, you will act locally in the right way. If I'm clear about the ends, then I'm diligent with the means. So during Ram Raja, this all happens. During Ram Raja, again, little katha, mostly teaching, what is shared is that there's 4 pillars to Sanatana Dharma. Does anyone know what these pillars are? Want to guess? No, that we studied already. Tapa, Shaucha, Daya, and Dana. When someone gets married, there's a mandapa. There's an altar. What do you see in the corners of that altar? 4 pillars. Those 4 pillars are the Veda. And here's another framework for you to think about. Those 4 pillars are tapa. Tapa means going outside of your comfort zone, from loving your family. What's next? Loving the community. You learn to love more, you love the society, humanity, and finally, divinity. If you don't grow in your love, the opposite of tapa is pata. You start to fall. You fall, you implode in the form of stress and anxiety and depression. The happiest workers are those involved with the clergy. Those people who are truly tuned in with God, those are the happiest workers. Tapa. Next is shaucha. What does shaucha mean? It means purity inside, but it starts with cleanliness outside. If I came home in your car right now, would you be comfortable with that? If I saw what's in your fridge, would you be comfortable? Would you be comfortable if I came to see the condition of your bed right now? If there's no outer cleanliness, there's definitely not going to be inner purity. And now I feel that we're too lax about shaucha. Shaucha means you know where your materials are, and when you know where your materials are, you can use them. If you have a store and you don't know you have a certain product, that means you can never sell that product, correct? It's a liability, it's an expense, not income. But if you know you have that product, you can sell that. Like Amazon. Amazon knows everything about you and what they're selling, correct? And they make that connection, which is why they just keep on growing more and more. But if they don't know what they're selling, it wouldn't be what it is. Here's where we should never forget where our cell phone is. We should never forget where our car keys are. We should never forget people's names. And if you start to practice this, you never forget who you are. But I don't even know where my keys are, leave alone who I am. Shaucha. Tapa shaucha, the next is daya. English word for daya? Compassion. Empathy. What are some practices to be more empathetic? Listening more. Really, that's it. But anything else about practicing more daya? Tuning in. Reacting less. Someone who's reactive is only looking at it from their perspective. That's sympathy. But someone who's engaged in daya, they're not reactive, they are responsive. They're concerned about the other person's feelings also. Daya. And the 4th pillar, and all of these pillars are strong in Ram Raja, is dana. Dana is to be generous. And this is a perfect introduction to another expression of Ram Raja, is when you know the greatness of others and you are grateful for others. This is human resources at its best. This is psychology at its deepest. Who is the standard for morality? We are, isn't it? When people don't decide like me, you are adharma, I am dharma. Who's the best looking person you know? You may say someone else, but you look at yourself in the mirror the most, isn't it? We, when we interact with people, focus on their weaknesses and our strengths. That's not Rama, that's Ravana Rajya. That's what Ravana did, didn't he? My wife is like this, my brother's like this, that tapasvi's like that. He never used the word Rama till he died. Bhagwan Rama focuses on other people's strengths. And since he did it, the citizens did it too. They knew the greatness of others, and they were grateful for that. So that leads me to dana. Swami Tejomayananda shared that dana should not be out of a sense of helping. It should be out of a sense of fulfillment. When I do this out of a sense of helping, I retain that separation between us. But when I do this out of a sense of fulfillment, I am actually grateful to you for giving me this opportunity. I was studying in Canada recently that 10% of society is employed by those in the nonprofit sector, in charities. 10% of the workforce is engaged in charitable work. But from 15 years ago to the present time, though more people are doing charitable work, people are giving less to charities. And you know what that's a sign of? And these charitable reports and studies won't show it. It shows that people are less happy. The happier you are, the more generous you are, correct? The less happy you are, you depend on outer security for the lack of inner security. Again, for our own observation, as we grow older, are we becoming more generous or less generous? If you're becoming less generous, you're becoming less secure. That's me not focusing on society, but I'm still stuck on a lower purpose. In Ram Raja, all of the people are engaged in monogamy. Even that's shared here. Monogamy, which means that eka pati, eka patni, vrata. Raja Dasharatha, when he was around, was there Ram Raja? How many wives did he have? 365 wives. Raja Dasharatha is great in that he's the master of 10 directions, but he's also distracted, like Ravana. That's why he was distracted by the attraction of Mother Kaikeyi. But you see with Bhagwan Rama, eka patni vrata, one wife. He could have had endless offers, including Shurpanakha, right? She was ready to marry Bhagwan Rama. So during Ram Rajya, when you're happy, you appreciate what you have. You don't take it for granted. When you're unhappy, when Bhagwan Rama is not your Raja, when happiness is not your priority, there's only distraction, there's only escapism. Please don't externalize this. These are teachings. There's no more kata. Lava and Kush are already born. This is how we are to, Bhagwan Rama's, that icon is going to leave. The Vedanta and Ramayana course is going to finish. Have you internalized this enough to live by this? See, Bhagwan Rama, Goswamiji is leading up to Purajana Gita. This is my last message. Like Acharya Shankara, this is Sadhana Panchakam. The last 40 teachings. If you can't do this, give up. Internalize this. Assess yourself. In Ram Rajya, there tends to be 4 types of negotiation. What are the 4 types of negotiation? Sama, Dana, Danda, Bheda. Sama means dialogue, cooperation. Dana is exchange, bribery sort of. Danda, punishment. And the worst is bheda, or separation. Being mad at a kid is one thing, but being disappointed is much more intense, right? The disappointment means I feel less close to you. But in Ram Raja, there's no bheda and there's no danda. There's no bheda and there's no dana. There's no dana. There's only sama and bheda. I keep mixing this up. In Ram Raja, there's no bheda. In Ram Raja, there's only danda. And what that means is, the people who walk around with those dandas, that's the only danda there is. That danda shows there's only dharma. People who walk around, it's called a tridanda. They walk around with this stick showing their thoughts and words and actions are aligned. Their body, mind, and intellect is aligned. That's there. So that's the only danda. There's no punishment because everyone's following the rules. And there is bheda. The only bheda is in music. There's no outer separation. There's only a difference in octaves. There's only a difference in ragas. That's the only danda and bheda that exists. There's jitahu. Jitahu means to beat, to be victorious. And when anyone yells out jita or jinna, it's not about beating someone else. It's about beating their own mind. Again, another sign of Ram Raja is that internalization. And the final thought, before we get into Purajana Gita next week, Mother Sita is described. She's come back too. So what is Mother Sita doing? I'll read to you the English translation. A mind of beauty, virtuous and meek. Sita was ever devoted to her Lord. She knew the greatness of the all-merciful Lord and adored his lotus feet with a devoted heart. Although there were many man servants and maid servants in her palace, all expert in the art of service, she did all household work with her own hands and carried out the behests of Sri Ramachandra. Sita invariably did what would afford delight to the all-merciful, conversant as she was with the art of service, devoid of pride and conceit. She waited upon Kaushalya and all the other mothers-in-law in the palace. Uma, who's Uma? Mother Parvati. Who's speaking to her? Bhagavan Shiva. Uma, continues Lord Shiva. Sita was no other than goddess Rama, Lakshmi, the mother of the universe, who is adored even by Brahma and other gods and is ever flawless. Mother Sita is so happy also, and the happier you are, the more you help without making lots of noise about it. She never said, hey, I've been gone for 14 years, serve me. Both she and Bhagavan Rama are perpetually serving. Someone feels Vijaya Dashami, Deepavali, exile being over. These are all signs of enlightenment. These are all means to enlightenment. Oh.